Ricky, it's such an exciting time in your career. Not only are you putting out new projects, but you've got this whole series of things going.
Yeah.
Waiting on the Sun to Shine was the last one. Now we move on to Don't Cheat in Our Hometown. Tell me about that album.
That was such a great project. A lot of people don't know the history of this project. I had 7 songs recorded. I had a 2-album deal, really, with Sugar Hill Records. I had done Sweet Temptation, and then I did some more music, which really ended up becoming Don't Cheat in Our Hometown. And I had this music recorded for their second project. I was on my way to Nashville, and I don't know, somehow I got bumped up to first class, you know, and I ended up sitting with a guy that was the head of United Artists. His name was Jim Mazza. And we got to talking. He said, "What do you do?" I said, "Well, I'm in the music business. I work with Emmylou Harris." And I said, "What do you do?" He said, "Well, I'm the head of United Artists." Oh, well, that's great. It's a good record label. So I start, you know, we talk a little bit more, and I get my Walkman out, and I'm listening to the cassette of my roughs. They weren't finished, but they were roughs. And he said, "Would you mind if I take a listen to what you're doing? I'd love to hear your stuff." Well, he starts listening to this music, and I see him over there, and he's just bopping, and he's just, you know, he's loving it, and I'm, "Oh, this is cool," you know. And so he takes his headphones off, and he said, "Who produced this stuff?" I said, "Well, I did." He said, "Young man, this could get you a record deal." And I'm flipping out, you know. And he said, "Are you going to be in Nashville tomorrow?" And I said, "Well, I could be." And he said, "Well, come down to United Artists, or the Capitol building there in Nashville. You know where it's at? I'll give you the address, you know." And I said, "Well, I'll find it," you know. And he said, "I want to play this music, you know, for all the people at Capitol." He said, "You know, I believe we can give you a record deal on this." And so anyway, we go down there and listen to the music, and long story short, they end up passing on it, you know, because one of the guys in Los Angeles didn't hear the music, and he didn't really, he thought it was too country, didn't think real country music was selling, you know, these days. And so, but they sent me to Rick Blackburn at Epic in Nashville, and so that was really what started the whole thing. Was these 7 songs, or 7 of the songs that ended up being on Don't Cheat in Our Hometown. Those were the ones that got me the record deal. Then I recorded Wait for the Sun to Shine, then Highways and Heartaches, and then the 3rd album came out. CBS negotiated a deal with Sugar Hill to get the rights to put this music out. And so we had Honey Open That Door, Don't Cheat in Our Hometown, Uncle Pen. You know, there were so many big records, you know, on this song, or on this CD. So this album holds a lot of really personal things for me. I mean, Dolly came in Los Angeles when I was recording out there and sang A Vision of Mother, which just took my breath away. It was so wonderful. And the Whites came in and sung The Children Go Where I Send Thee, and of course we ended up recording Uncle Pen here in Nashville. I needed 3 or 4 more songs once they got the rights to do the record. I needed to do another 3 or 4 songs to make the album complete. I recorded a song, a Stonewall Jackson tune called A Wound Time Can't Erase. That's on that record as well. And of course Keep a Memory, a bluegrass tune, and Uncle Pen, which was a #1 record. And it's a very personal record to me, something that really was the precursor. That was the demo, if you want to call it that. That was the demo that really got my whole career started, you know, here in Nashville.
Well, it says a lot about you as a producer. Here you're producing something that really wasn't supposed to be put out,
Yeah.
or at least certainly not on a
Yeah.
major label.
Right.
And they just pick right up. I mean, usually when you sign a major record deal, they want to go in and just start all over.
Yeah.
So that said a lot about you and your song selection and the way you produced. And I guess it led to the fact that they said, "Hey, maybe this guy can produce himself."
Well, I got to say, in all honesty, I had a really good teacher. I stayed on Brian Ahern like a hen on a June bug. You know what I'm saying? He was Emmylou's husband at that time, and he produced all her records. Had produced Anne Murray's records in Toronto when he was living there. But I watched him so intently. I watched what he did. I watched the microphones he used. I watched the decisions that he made and why he made them. I listened to his reasoning. And, you know, while the rest of the guys was out, you know, doing other things, I was really honing in on, because I knew he made great records. And so he really taught me a lot, and he didn't know he was teaching me. I was just listening and watching what he was doing. And so I felt like, I could do this. I mean, he gave me enough confidence, especially, how he would want me to interact, and he liked my ideas when we were even cutting Emmylou's music. He would ask for my opinions on things, and how would you do something like this? How would you play the fiddle on this? What do you hear on this? Or what do you hear on the mandolin? So I felt like he was drawing from me as well. So it made me feel like I could draw from him, and it would be all right. And so I didn't have a pattern to go by. You're right. I mean, I hadn't produced anything really before. I had done the Sweet Temptation record, and it was kind of, it was a good record, but it was my first attempt to kind of marry bluegrass and country together. Don't Cheat in Our Hometown was my second attempt. I leaned a little more toward country. I saw that I'll Take the Blame and Could You Love Me One More Time really got a lot of radio bites. Radio was hitting on it, listening to it, playing it, putting it in rotation, and trying it out on a brand new, unheard of, no-name artist, And so it wasn't my name, wasn't my association with Emmylou, it was the music, and I knew that. And so it gave me a little more focus toward country, a little bit more. I was finding old things like Honey, Open That Door. I was going back to the Stanley Brothers and found Don't Cheat in Our Hometown. I found... Children Go Where I Send Thee. I found, Keep a Memory. I found, just different things, and I wanted to try to bring the bluegrass in, but I didn't want it to be a bluegrass record. I wanted it to be just a type record of all the songs that I loved and all the kinds of music that I loved, and I think that's, I've tried to do that throughout my whole career. Not just record records that I think radio will play, but I've got to satisfy myself first, because really at the end of the day, a record is forever. It really is. I don't care when you put it out, it's forever. Doesn't matter if it's vinyl or if you do it today on digital recording, it's forever. And so I've tried to keep my work and just the history of my work. I've always tried to make things that I was proud of. I could sign off on and say, well, that's the best I could do at that time, and maybe I'll get better than the next time.
You obviously did a good job, because in 2009 you're re-releasing this stuff, and it sounds like it was cut yesterday. So it's timeless. That's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
Let's talk about Uncle Pen for a moment. That is was a very personal song of Bill Monroe that he wrote about his uncle,
yeah.
And that was kind of, at least for me, the beginning of this incredible relationship you had with Bill Monroe that went back to your childhood,
yeah.
Really.
It did go back to my childhood. Imagine here, I'm 6 years old, I'm sitting in the audience, I'm at a Bill Monroe show in Martha, Kentucky, and I hear the neighbors in the hood saying, let little Ricky Skaggs get up and sing, and here's Bill Monroe up there playing and singing, and I'm oh, don't say that. And after a while, someone else, because they'd see me either at the church house singing or at the grocery store, at Butler's grocery store in Blaine, Kentucky, singing on the bank steps or somewhere like that. And so they're wanting to get their little hometown kid up there. So finally, Bill Monroe invites little Ricky Skaggs to come up there. And I don't think he really understood how little Ricky Skaggs was. But he reaches down, grabs me by the arm, and pulls me up on the stage. I've still got a torn rotator from it. But anyway, he sat me down on stage and he said, what do you play there, boy? And I said, well, I play the mandolin, and I'm scared to death, Sure. He takes his big Lloyd Loar F5 mandolin, Excalibur is what I call it now, took it off and put it on me, tucked the bootstrap and wrapped it around, around the curl there so it would fit me. And I stood there and I played his mandolin and sang, Ruby, Are You Mad at Your Man? And 6 years old singing about, woman trouble already. It was going on. I had a lot of girlfriends, but anyway, but that was the first, installment that Bill Monroe made into my life at 6 years old. And our relationship did last from 6 years old till he passed away in 1996. And so it was an amazing relationship. I recorded Uncle Pen not knowing exactly how he would take to it, because I added drums, which was not one of his favorite things in the whole world. He told Rose Maddox, this is all the drum you need right here, and just played his mandolin. And but it had steel guitar, it had electric guitar, and you know, instruments that was way foreign to bluegrass music. But we put the banjo, we put Bobby Hicks fiddle playing in there, and we had the guitar don 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 G runs in there, you know. So I think there was enough of it that made him happy that you know, I thought, well, we'll see how he likes this. Well, one night at the opera, he said, Ricky, I need to tell you something, boy. I said, what is it, Mr. Bill? He said, that song you cut of mine, Uncle Pen, I got a royalty check today, and boy, it was powerful. It was a powerful check, and you can cut all my songs if you want to. So I knew I was in good stead with Mr. Monroe from there on out. And of course, then the Country Boy video happened on the next record, and we'll talk about that, you know, because that's going to be our next project that we'll release and talk about.
Bill Monroe dancing with kids in New York City on a subway is just, that's worth the price of admission alone.
Yeah, I think it was like the first, I know it was the first country music video that was ever played on VH1 when it came on the air in the 80s. So. That was a very, very pivotal moment, you know, and for me, you know, kind of helping to pioneer and be one of the guinea pigs, so to speak, on this new format, what was called videos in country music back in those days. So it was a big deal.
I've always been fascinated by Children Go. It's such a complex arrangement of that song. Tell me about how that came about.
Well, me and the Whites, you know, Sharon, Cheryl, and Buck. We've known each other for years, and we've sang together and, you know, performed together. Sharon and I have been married going on 28 years now, and we were big fans of a group called the Marshall Family that sung. You know, they did some stuff with Ralph Stanley. They had a wonderful family band, and it's kind of a version of what they did, a little different we did, but they did a thing called Children Go, and did a version of it, and. I just always wanted to cut it. We worked it up one night backstage. I don't know where we were. We were on the road somewhere, and I was out kind of playing some. I would go out and play fiddle with them some when Emmy Lou wasn't working. If back when I was in her band, I'd go out and play some with the Whites, and I had to make them car payments, buddy. And I didn't want them to take my car, so got a chance to work that song up, and it just was one of those things that every time we did it, the crowd loved it, you know. And so I thought it would be appropriate to have the Whites come on, you know, because they sung on "Honey, Open That Door" on the Don't Cheat album, and so I thought it would be great to have them come in the studio. And of course, Buck played piano on "Honey, Open That Door." That honky tonk Holy Ghost piano playing of his, I think, was one of those one of the highlights of that whole song is Buck's piano playing.
Yeah. How did you come to record that one, Honey, Won't You Open That Door? That was such a popular song with the audience.
It was.
I remember you doing it on stage,
oh, my goodness.
And people loved it.
And I used to get little kids, because all these little kids was singing, Honey, Honey, you know, they were singing. So I'd get them to come down in front of the stage. We'd set some microphones down there, and the kids would, when it was time to do Honey, Open That Door, this is your sweet daddy, you know, we'd let them sing that part. The band would kind of get down real quiet, you know, and let the kids sing, and they could hear themselves in the speakers, and they loved it, you know. But it was just, you know, Hank DeVito. Hank was a great steel player, played with Emmy Lou, and a bandmate of mine when I was in Emmy's band. And he was always, you know, taking music out on the road. Of course, we had Walkman back then. There was a little small cassette player. Now you've got iPods and iPhones.
Yeah, you better
and
explain
MP3
that, because a
players.
lot of people
Yeah.
won't.
A Walkman was a little small thing, a little cassette player, and you could plug headphones into it and listen to music. You didn't have to have a big box this big. You didn't have to have a jam box, you know, and so it was a great way to take music around. But you had to have a box for, you know, 30 or 40 cassettes, you know. And but anyway, he was always making old music, you know, and he would give me a cassette here and a cassette there, and he made me just kind of a CD or a cassette of just a bunch of old country classics, you know, and he put some Webb Pierce tunes on there, you know. Oh Lord, I'm tired of living this old way, and he also put Honey, Open That Door on there, and. That was kind of a hit for Webb Pierce back in the late 50s, early 60s, and so when I heard that song, I thought, you know, that could be something I could really do. I could sing Honey, Open That Door. That would be a good because I love the rockabilly, dun, 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 dun. You know, I liked that feel, and I liked what that started. You know, how the thing started. And of course, Albert Lee, one of my very favorite electric guitar players in the whole wide world, somebody that I've learned so much from. He came in and played electric guitar on that track. He had been in Emmylou's band earlier, you know, and I got to go to Europe with him for about 6 weeks. So he and I become great friends and shared so much about old music. He loved Louvin Brothers, he loved the Everly Brothers, loved the Stanley Brothers and people like that. So we were always trading cassettes back and forth, and such a great brotherhood of musicians and music that we shared so much back in those days. And so there was just all kinds of great ideas floating around, and that was one of the songs I thought I'd like to cut for "Don't Cheat in Our Hometown."
Well, it's a great cut, and the whole album's great. And I'm so glad that you're bringing these classic Ricky Skaggs songs back. You've got another one in the series to come out next year.
Right.
This is going to be it for
Country
this year.
Boy, yeah, we'll do Country Boy next year, but this is kind of the 3 albums we've done. Highways and Heartaches was the first one that we released from the new series. Actually, the second one in the Epic series. We did Wait for the Sunshine, Highways and Heartaches, then Don't Cheat in Our Hometown. So that's going to be that'll be it for this series. But then we'll come out next year with Country Boy. But you know, it was. You know, as I said earlier, it was the record that's close to my heart, because those songs on "Don't Cheat in Our Hometown," those were what became the testing ground and the demos that the record labels were listening to, that really got me a record deal with Epic on CBS label back in 1981, and it was just it's something that really holds close to my heart. I love this record.
An exciting series for sure, and it's going to bring a lot of your classic music to a whole new audience.
I think so.
And your music has always appealed to younger people. I can remember sitting in my music room one night. You know my son Eric.
Yeah.
He's in his 20s now.
Yeah.
He's married, but he's a little bitty fella, and he comes in. He says, "Daddy, play some Erky." I said, "Who?" He said, "Erky." He loved your music even at that age. So that's kind of exciting for me, that all this new generation of kids are going to come along and discover a side of Ricky Skaggs maybe they're not familiar with. I am.
Yeah.
A lot of people my generation are, but these kids aren't. So that's exciting. You've got a new project that, man, just blows me away. I haven't heard any of it, but I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Well, it's a project, another project that, you know, all these albums are, you know, and projects are like kids. They get close to your heart. You birth them, you give life to them, you think about them, dream about them in your mind, and then you give birth to them, you know, and then you release them right out to the public, so everybody can have a chance to, you know, to listen to them, and you want them to be something special. You know, my dad was a very, very big influence in my life. He was a godly man. He didn't preach it, he walked it, he lived it every day of his life. And he was just such a, you know, he was a coon hunter, ginsanger, squirrel hunter, fisherman. He could fix anything that tore up. If somebody called him and said, "Hobart, we've tore up the stove. Can you come fix it?" "Yeah." Dad grabbed, you know, 3 or 4 tools out of his box and go up there and fix somebody's stove, you know, and it might be 20 below. He'd crawl under somebody's house and fix something. But he was just such a great old mountain man. I loved him so much, and but his love for music was something he imparted to me as a young kid. I used to see him sit around just playing the guitar. He bought me a mandolin when I was 5 years old. We had loaned the family guitar out. We had loaned it to some friends. He just kind of gotten away from music, you know. But when he saw me playing the mandolin and singing and, you know, doing them both together, he went and bought a new guitar. In 1960, he bought a D28 Martin, and we have it. We still have it in the family. And but his love for Jimmy Rogers, the singing brakeman, the Monroe Brothers, the Stanley Brothers, Roy Acuff, Floyd Tillman, Clyde Moody, all these great voices from the past. Those people he turned me on to. He turned me on to old-time fiddlers. He turned me on to fiddle players in eastern Kentucky that I didn't even know existed. There was a guy named Sanford Kelly that I learned so much fiddling from. I had a cousin named Paul Wright, and he played fiddle, and so I learned so much from him, and he would take me around to old, where there's having music, maybe on Saturdays at Paintsville, Kentucky, maybe at the stock yard up there, they'd have music going on up there. So he was always taking places, taking me to a beer joint, Now you just don't watch what they're doing. You just sit here and listen to the music, So he'd take me to see Earl Taylor in Columbus, Ohio, at the Astro Inn, and we'd go listen to to the music, and it was just so great, So I'm doing this record. My dad passed away in '96, and I'm doing this record all solo. I'm playing all the instruments myself. I'm singing all the parts. And it's songs that me and Dad used to sing together. So I guess a working title is, songs my dad loved. I don't know, exactly what the title will be just yet, but basically it's songs that my dad loved, and that's the whole concept. But it'll be songs that he and I sang together. It'll be songs that he used to sing just by himself. It'll be songs that he loved from other people, Monroe Brothers. There's a song that we used to get him to sing called I'd say, Dad, sing that 50 Cent song, and it's about taking this girl out on a date, and he takes her to a restaurant to eat, and she said she wasn't very hungry, but this is what she ate: a dozen raw, a plate of slaw, a chicken and a roast, parsnips and applesauce with soft-shell crabs on toast. Oyster stew, some crackers too, her appetite was immense. When she called for pie, I thought I'd die, for I had but 50 cents.
Oh, great.
And he used to just level us, singing that song, and we'd just laugh. And so I found the lyrics on the internet. Thank God for the internet, because I got up there and found the lyrics, because I had forgotten, the way that he sang it. But it's songs like that, and so that'll be out, this summer as well. So we're real excited about it. And here again, it's my first solo where I'm playing everything and singing everything. But I tried to really keep it just like he and I would do, just sitting around at the house, just guitar and guitar, mandolin and guitar, fiddle and guitar, banjo and clawhammer banjo and fiddle stuff, and so a few tunes we added 2 or 3 things on. But there's one great song that he used to sing called "The City Four Square." I'm going to a city where my Jesus is the light. And so I've taken that song and almost produced it. Like, if I'd have got Dad in there to sing, what instruments would I have used if I'd have really wanted to make it cool and hip, and just really enhance the words of the song. So it's got more songs on it, or more music on it, more musician, or more instruments on it, I guess, than just a couple of things. And it's actually me playing piano the first time that I've ever recorded piano. So it's really a heavy part. It's not much, but it's on there.
Was this an emotional project for you?
It is.
Did you hear your dad singing along?
Yes, I have, and I've seen him close his eyes and just sling his head. That's the way he played and sung. He'd get into. I don't think there's anybody I've ever known that loved music any more than my dad. He'd always say, "Son, let's play one more." And so about midnight or 1 o'clock, that one more business was just about over with. I said, "Dad, I can't play anymore," and my fingers would be so sore on the tips. But had my dad not pushed me like that as a child, I never would have stayed with it. He saw something in me, and he encouraged me, and I'd smart off and say something that would hurt his feelings, and he'd just grab my mandolin and take his guitar, and he'd go and just put them away, and then I'd feel like feel terrible about it, and I'd have to go back and, "Dad, I'm sorry." "Well, let's get them back out, son. We'll play some more." But had he not pushed me and encouraged me to keep going and keep pressing in, because I played mandolin when I was 5. My next instrument was guitar. Then the next instrument was I learned the fiddle when I was about 13, and then playing the old-time clawhammer style banjo after that. So it's his fault. I mean, everything that I'm doing is a result of my dad's encouragement, to me. But I'm so thankful that I had a dad that would do that.
Yeah. Hobart and Dorothy Skaggs were good people. I'm glad I got to know them.
Fine people.
And I kind of like their son just a little bit too. Ricky, it's
Well,
always good to see you.
thank you, Keith.
Always
I
good to sit and
appreciate
talk
it,
with
buddy.
you. I
Thank you,
learned
man.
something every time.
Well, I do too.
It's good to see you, pal.
Thanks.